Hello everybody, it's me, Diggsy, and for once today you may be noticing that I'm not going to be using TTS, I'm going to be using my computer today with my microphone, so that's actually going to be a very exciting change. So today I thought we would start off not nice and easy with my first video editing for myself. It's probably going to be like over an hour long, and it's going to be a pretty long one for me to edit, but nonetheless, I'm going to do it because I've seen one too many people, man. I swear to God, I swear, one too many people playing the Pegasus structure deck or one of the two Yugi structure decks. Like, what are they doing out here, man? They're they're not playing the right decks, and it's making me lose my mind. So I thought that today we'd just go over every structure deck, their strengths, their weaknesses, all that kind of stuff, and overall why you should probably just be playing Zombie Madness or like maybe one or two other structure decks. I mean, they can't be that bad, right? Alright, so let's give these a look. I've already pulled up Blaze of Destruction here, and we're just gonna go down the list. It's in alphabetical order, so Zombie Madness is the last deck we'll be looking at. Okay. Starting off Blaze of Destruction, we have Infernal Flame Emperor. This card was actually played by Axel in the GX anime, but what this card can do is, when this card is tribute summoned, you can remove from play up to 5 fire monsters in your graveyard, and then destroy a number of spell and trap cards on the field equal to the number of monsters removed from play for this effect. So overall, this effect is okay. I don't think it's anything special. It's a 2 tribute 2700. There are just a lot of better 2 tribute monsters, or even 1 tribute monsters out there. So overall, this card just ends up being kind of meh. Great Angus is an 1800 fire level 4. Nothing to really write home about, but when combined with this field spell, it can be a pretty good beater. Blazing Impachi has 50 whole more attack points, and its art is 100% better. I will not be taking any flack for that. This card, it looks awesome. UFO Turtle is actually a pretty decent threat in this deck because what it can do with the field spell destruction is become a 1900 monster that searches out another UFO turtle in your deck, which is insane, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of Molten Destruction in your deck, so this doesn't end up actually being a consistent strategy. Little Chimera gives all fire monsters on the field a 500 attack boost, and all water monsters on the field a 400 attack nerf. This overall ends up being a pretty good boost. However, Little Chimera is still a pretty weak monster, even after this boost, so your opponent can just get rid of it, and then the rest of the monsters. So overall, it just ends up being, it's just kind of whatever. Inferno cannot be normal summoned or set. Must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 fire monster from your graveyard. This card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard. Inflict 1500 damage to your opponent. This card's okay. The main problem is that it's an 1100 monster, so it just doesn't end up being all that cool. Unless you have the field spell or little kind of you're not going to be running over anything. So overall, it just ends up being Molten Zombie that allows you to draw a card when it's special summoned. Man, the fact there's only like one premature burial and call it haunted, so that's 2 ways to get out of the graveyard. It's overall just not worth running with 2 special summons from grave. Solar Flare Dragon is actually a really good card because if you control another Pyro type monster, it can't be attacked and it burns your opponent for 500. So you can set up a lock with this card with 2 Solar Flare Dragons, and your opponent just can't attack either of them, and you're burning them for 1000. However, there's only 2 of it in this structure deck for whatever reason, but it's normally run at 3, so it's just kind of awkward to use. Ultimate Baseball Kid gains 1000 attack for each face-up fire monster on the field except this card. And this card can actually be a pretty threatening boss monster if you have enough fires on the field. However, looking at this deck, you're not going to really have that many fire monsters on the field, so the most you're probably going to be getting is a 2500 monster, which it isn't that bad, but like you'd rather be running something else. Raging Flame Spray is actually probably one of the best cards in this deck because it can attack your opponent directly, and it gains 1000 attack each time that it does that. So it can snowball easily into a 2100 or a 3100, and it just keeps going. So this card is amazing. However, it's only run at a 1-of in this deck. For whatever reason, Konami decided to put it as a 1-of in this deck, yet they still kept Gaia Soul, the Combustible Collective, which we'll get to. It's just such a weird decision. And Konami knows how to make good structures. I'll show you later. They know how to make good structures. Thestalos, the Firestorm Monarch, hand rips your opponent. Pretty good for a good card overall. Compared to the other monarchs, it's kind of meh, but overall, it's a good card. Foxfire. During the end phase, this card was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard this turn, and was face up at the start of the damage step. Special summon this card from the graveyard. This face up card cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. This is just more complicated reborn frog. It's just overall not worth it for a 300, 200, I guess like free monster on board, but like, I don't know. Now you may be noticing at this point that this deck has a few banned cards in it. And you must be like, ooh, Dixie, that must mean you can't run this deck, right? No. If you run a structure deck, you can run banned cards. And you might be thinking that's a little bit overpowered. However, just by looking at these decks, you can tell they're just not that great. So they kind of need these banned cards to even be a little bit good. So Snatch Steal allows you to yoink an opponent's monster and you just take control of it. But you have to give your opponent 1000 life points. Overall, it's a pretty mediocre downside and an amazing upside, so it's an amazing card even out of one of them. We have Mystical Space Typhoon and Heavy Storm for spell and trap destruction. We got Molten Destruction, field spell I talked about earlier. All fire monsters gain 500 attack and lose 400. This gives our Solar Flare Dragons 2000, Thestalos 2900. Overall, it makes every monster in this deck just super buffed. However, like I said, it's run at 2, so it's kind of awkward to use. No limit across it gets rid of a face down by banishing it, and if it's a flip, we can just look at our opponent's entire deck and see what they're running. Amazing card. I'm glad it's only a 1-of. I hate running into this card. Premature Burial lets you special summon from the grave for only 800 life points. However, it can only special summon a monster that can't be special summoned, so you can't be special summoning Infernal Flame Emperor. Don't try to do it. Pot of Greed. You'll never guess what this card does. Get this. Pot of Greed lets you draw 2 cards. I know. Crazy. No wonder they banned this card. It's way too strong. Tribute to the Doom lets you discard a card and then destroy a face-up monster. Overall, meh, but I guess it's a monster destruction. Dark Room of Nightmare lets you deal 300 damage to your opponent. Each time you deal them damage from a card effect. Overall, alright card. It's only a 1-of in this deck, which is really weird. Oh yeah, Gaia Soul, the Combustible Collective. I kind of skipped over this card because it's kind of ass. But it's a 2000 normal summon, and it deals piercing battle damage. However, it blows itself up, so it's just not good. Level limit area bees changes all level 4 or higher monsters into defense position. This card is really annoying, especially with Solar Flare Dragon. So if you have 2 Solar Flare Dragons out and level limit area B, you're just going to be constantly annoying your opponent. And with Raging Flame Sprite too, man, your opponent's just going to be not having a great time. Necklace of Command. When a monster you control that's equipped with this card is destroyed by battle and this card is sent to the graveyard, you can either draw a card or discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Overall, this is a mediocre equip. It requires your monster to be destroyed by battle, so you can just use a spell or trap destruction on it. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Mirror's Direction allows you to deal 1,000 burn if your opponent has 3,000 life points or higher. Overall, it's decent burn, however, there are just a lot of better burn cards in the game. And we have Dust Tornado, which is more spell and trap destruction, always appreciated. Dust Tornado is a pretty good card. Call the Haunted's another monster resurrection, however, it brings it back in attack mode, so just keep that in mind. Jar of Greed's a good draw card, however, it's only run at 1, so you really don't get to take advantage of it. You can still bait your opponent, but I don't know. Spell Shield type 8. This is the first real, bad card. Get this, when a spell card is activated that negates exactly one monster on the field, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Or, when a spell card is activated, set one spell from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Was Solemn Judgment too powerful to put into structure? Or even Magic or Trap Jammer? Like, come on. This card sucks. It's not good. And we have Backfire. Face up fire monster you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, inflict fire on your opponent. Overall, mediocre burn. It's a continuous, I guess. Overall, I'd say this structure is pretty okay. I wouldn't say it's the best one out there, but it's not the worst either. You're not putting yourself at a disadvantage for playing this, however, there are just better structures out there that I would recommend that you spend your shards on. Moving on to Dragon's Roar. Oh, oh, Luminized Darkness Dragon. Here we go. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by tripping one Red Eyes Black Dragon, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card gains 300 attack for each dragon type monster in your graveyard. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this card, it's not good to say the least. There is a total of one Red Eyes Black Dragon in this deck, and it's it's a 2 tribute level 7 2400. And its effect, Red Eyes Dark Dragon, it isn't even that good. Like, its effect is mid. So overall, the card is just bad. Luster Dragon's a decent normal summon, however, it's been outpaced by Cyber Dragon, so you just have to kind of keep that in mind while playing this card. Twin-Headed Behemoth is just kind of Tree-Worn Frog, but a little bit less good, and it can only be used once a duel. Armed Dragon level 3 is probably going to be like one of our best cards in this deck. During your standby phase, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon one Armed Dragon level 5 from your hand or deck. So this card really sets up for our boss monster, Armed Dragon level 5, which is a good 2400 where you can send a monster to the graveyard and you can destroy a face-up monster with less attack than that monster. However, there's no really big attack monsters to like get rid of anything. I guess we do have Red Eyes, so we can get rid of a Monarch, but not much else besides that. Black Dragon's Chick can special summon a Red Eyes Black Dragon from your hand. However, as we've discussed, there is only one Red Eyes in this deck. If we wanted to make this a Red Eyes deck, we could have made a much better Red Eyes deck. I don't know why we're playing one of all the Red Eyes cards. Oh, we're smoking. So this just ends up being a 500 defense body on the field. We could have had 3 Armed Dragon level 3s, but we just had to have 1 Element Dragon. And let me tell you, this card is not good. And so this monster gets the following effects while there's a monster on the field with the following attributes on the field. Fire gains 500 attack, and wind, your opponent gets an extra attack for destroying this monster. So you either reward your opponent for for attacking you, or you get a 2000 normal. Yeah, it's not good. Mass Dragon is probably our best card in this deck. Lets us search out a level 3 Armed Dragon or itself. Great card. 10 out of 10. No notes. Snatch Steel, Nolan Across Up, Pre-Mat, Pot of Greed, Heavy Storm, and Mystical Space Typhoon. I'm not going to be going over what these cards do again because I already went over what they do. You already know what they do. So, yeah, I'm not going to be analyzing cards here. I'm just going to be telling you if the deck's good or not, and just telling you what the cards are. So, Sword Through Feeling Way is great for stalling and has great synergy with level 3. Stampede Destruction is another great piece of spell and trap destruction, plus it's some pretty good burn. Creature Swap synergizes very well with Mass Dragon. Reload's a decent hand reset. It's been outpaced by Magical Mallet, however, Magical Mallet doesn't even save play, so yeah. Graveyard in the fourth dimension lets you shuffle 2 level monsters from your graveyard into your deck. However, that's where the last place where you want them to be. Sure, they're back in your deck, but like that doesn't thin your deck like you want your deck to be thinned. So, Call the Haunted, good. Graveyard Summon. Ceasefire is in this deck for some reason. What the heck? Why is Ceasefire in this? It lets you deal 500 damage for each face down for each monster on the field and flips up all face downs. And so I guess it's all right. The Dragon's Bead. Discard 1 card from your hand. Negate the effect of a trap card that targets 1 face-up dragon-type monster and destroy the trap card. This card is not good whatsoever. It is not good. It has to be a trap card that targets a dragon you control, and those are rare to even be played. You have to discard a card, so you're minusing your own hand, and you only have like 2 graveyard specials. At least it's a continuous, I guess. I don't know. Dragon's Roar is a lot better than the Dragon's Bead, but all it lets you do is inflict piercing battle damage when you attack an opponent's defense position monster. Overall, it's pretty mediocre. Reckless Greed lets you draw 2, basically skipping 2 turns into the future. However, you skip those next 2 draw phases, so it just ends up being alright. Interdimensional Matter Transporter lets you target a face-up monster and banish that target until the end phase. You can potentially save one of your dragons with this, however, there's just a lot better trap cards you could be playing than in interdimensional, so... Trap Jammer, ooh. So Konami did know how to put a trap or a magic jammer into a deck, and they just didn't. Why? Curse of Anubis. Change all effect monsters on the field into defense position. Until the end of this turn, the original defense of those monsters becomes 0. Also, their battle positions cannot be changed. What? Why would you want why would you want to play this card? Most of this deck's monsters are effect monsters. Why would you want to play this? There are 3 normals in this deck. This is going to affect your monsters too. What the heck? This card is ass. It's not good. It's not good. Next we have Fury from the Deep, and already this deck is just looking much better than Dragon's Roar. I wouldn't recommend that you play Dragon's Roar. Ocean Dragon Lord Neo Daedalus. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by tributing 1 Lavia Dragon Daedalus. You can send 1 Umi you control to the graveyard. Send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard except this card. So if you can get this card out, it's basically it's you win the duel. However, there's only one Labia Dragon Daedalus in this deck, so it's gonna be pretty hard to resolve. But if you do, congratulations, you win. Seven Colored Fish, Sea Serpent, Warrior of Darkness, and Space Mamba are all normals. They're pretty decent waters, and they synergize with the Legendary Ocean. I don't got much to add, except that Space Mamba's art is pretty cute. Mother Grizzly's a good water. It's basically the water version of UFO Turtle, so you already know why this is good. Starboy is basically the water version of I don't remember the fire monster's name already, but it's basically the water version of that. Drive Infecting Virus is a very good water monster. It lets you discard a card and declare one type of monster to destroy all face-up monsters of the declared type on the field. So if your opponent's running a type deck, they're really not going to be having a great time. They're going to really hate you. Fenrir can be normal. This card cannot be normal soldier set. Card can only be special summoned by removing from play 2 water monsters in your graveyard. When this card destroys an opponent's monster as a result of battle, your opponent gets their next draw phase. Pretty good card, but it's pretty weak without the field spell, which at least there's 3 of this time. Thank goodness. We'll talk about that later. Well, Umi is face up on the field. This card can attack your opponent's life points directly. Okay, this card is actually good, and it's only one of them, so I can't really complain about it much. Yeah. Levia Dragon Dadius. Okay, 2 tribute 2600. What does this card do? You can send one face up Umi you control to the graveyard, destroy all other cards on the field. This card is very good. However, it is 2 tributes, so it's gonna be pretty hard to get out. Oh well. It's actually a good water boss, I guess. While Lumine's face up on the field, this card can attack twice during the same battle phase. Okay, so Mermaid Knight's kind of like Amphibious Bogoroth Mark III, in where it requires Umi to be face up on the field to really get its effect going, but once it does, it's actually a good card. Moby is the Frost Monarch, an actually good Monarch card, and it's a water. You can pop 2 face up or down spell or traps your opponent has. And yeah, that's about it from Mobius. Good card, no notes. Unshaven Angler allows you to tribute itself, treat itself as 2 tributes. So I guess you can get out Daedalus easier. My apologies. But it's only a 1 of, so. And Creeping Doom Manta. When this card is normal summoned successfully, no trap cards can be activated. This is like Wild Heart. It's not even immune to traps. What the heck? Snatch Steal, MST, Premat, Pot of Greed, Heavy Storm, and quote unquote a legendary ocean. So why I say quote unquote is that a legendary ocean doesn't actually exist because this card's name is always treated as Umi. So in the deck, on the field, in the grave, wherever, it's always treated as Umi. So you can't run multiple copies of a legendary ocean or Umi. It's actually a pretty inventive workaround. And basically, all water monsters on the field gain 1 attack and 200 attack and defense. Pretty good field spell overall. No real notes, and you can lower your monster's level by 1, so you can outlay Levia Dragon even easier. Wow. Creature swap's great with Mother Grizzly, reloads a good, decent hand reset, salvage, to target who wants the water monster with 15 or less attack in your graveyard. Add those targets to, you see, this is just a better graveyard from a different dimension, because it lets you actually add the cards to your hand. Hammer Shot lets you destroy 1 face-up attack position monster who with the highest attack. The only problem with this card is it forces you to use it on an attack position monster. If it worked on any monster, it would be pretty good. Big Wave, Small Wave. Destroy all face-up water monsters you control. Then you can special summon water monsters from your hand. up to the number of water monsters destroyed by this effect. Let's see. Okay. You can special summon Labia Dragon with this, actually. That's pretty funny. That's actually a really good combo. But it is a 3-card combo. You need this a water monster and a Dallas in the same hand. So, just turning to Call the Haunted, and probably the most annoying card in this deck, Gravity Bind. Level 4 higher monsters cannot attack. This card is very annoying. It was banned for a very good reason. I don't know why people want it to come back so badly. They just want to play Big Stall, I guess. Tornado Wall is amazing because what it lets you do is while you control an Umi, you don't take any battle damage. So it's a nice one of in this deck, but it's just kind of situational. Torrential Tribute, amazing trap, good card, 10 out of 10. Good monster removal. Spell Shield type 8. Don't know why they keep putting this card in decks. And I can't pronounce that. You can target 2 set spell trapped cards. You can basically lock them down. Nice card overall. So, our next one up is Invincible Fortress, which has my goat Exod on it. Look how cool this card is. Exod, Master of the Guard. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned, except by attributing one Sphinx monster. Each time an Earth monster is flip summoned while this card remains face up on the field, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. This card is better run at 2 or even 3. For some reason, it's at 1 in this deck. This deck just really doesn't make any sense at all. Like look at this. Great Spirit. Once per turn during your main phase, you can flip this card face down into defense position. When this card is flip summoned, you can switch the original attack and defense of one face-up Earth monster on the field until the end of his turn. Problem with this card is that most of the cards you're going to be playing are defensive, so I guess you can switch them into attack for like an OTK, but it's just better cards for that. Giant Rat's a good searcher, but there's really not much for it to search. There's a bunch of flip monsters, I guess. Mahoragi. Is this Mahoraga's cousin? This card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to the owner's hand during the end phase of the turn that this card is normal summoned or flipped face up. If this card is normal summoned or flipped face up, look at one card on the top of your deck during your next draw phase. Before you draw, return the card to the top or bottom of your deck. What? So you get to look at the top card of your deck, and then you just don't get to use it? This card sucks. Wow. You get to look at the top card of your deck, and then you just get to shuffle it right back in there, baby. Guardian Sphinx is probably the best card in this deck. However, there's only one of it. It's a level 5 2400 that bounces all your opponent's monsters back to their hand. Great and amazing card. I don't know why it's only at 1. Gigantus. It's one of those monsters that you have to like banish a monster to summon, and it has a good effect and good stats. So yeah. Stone Statue of the Aztecs doubles any battle damage your opponent takes when they attack the monster. Golem Sentry bounces a card back to your opponent's hand and can be flipped back face down. I can't pronounce that Sphinx. Your opponent cannot select a face down defense position monster as an attack target. Pretty nice card. Cryo Sphinx. When a monster is returned from the field to the owner's hand, the owner of the returned monster selects and sends one card in their hand to the graveyard. This is a very complicated hand rip, and it just doesn't have great stats at all. Moai Interceptor Cannons is pretty mid. You can just flip it back into face down defense position. Wow. Mega Rock Dragon is better in numbers. You can banish rocks to summon it, and it gains 700 attack for each rock you banish. However, there's only one of it in the deck, so it's just very inconsistent. Guardian Statue is just a Diet Golem Sentry. Medusa Worm's a good pop. Sand Moth. This face down defense position card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard except by battle. Switch the original attack and defense of this card and special summon it. This card is not great. I guess it's a good defensive card. However, what card would even destroy it while face down? I guess Torrential Tribute? We have one of Canyon. Why only one? Mystical Space Typhoon, Pre-Mat, Swords Revealing Light. Shield and Sword card is not great. I guess it's good for like an TK, but I don't know. Magical Mouth's just better reload. Hammer Shot is here for some reason. Ectoplasmer forces your opponent to tribute their monsters, I guess, but it also forces you to tribute your own Exot if you manage to get out. Why? Brain Control for tributing. Shifting Shadows. Once per turn by paying 300 life points, rearrange the face down defense position monsters in your main monster zones, then return them in face down defense position. Okay, I guess. Wabuku. Monsters just can't be destroyed by battle. Ultimate Offering lets you turbo out your rocks, I guess. Magic Drain. They finally got a decent negate up in here. Magic Drain forces your opponent to hand rip themselves a spell if they want to activate a spell. Good card. Well, it's a decent card. It's outpaced. Robin Goblin lets you also hand rip your opponent if you manage to deal damage to them. My Goat, Ordeal of a Traveler. This card's very underrated. This card has a decent set of spells, traps, and monsters. So your opponent's just always going to be guessing. However, it's only at 2 in this deck for some reason, when it's best at 3. Reckless Greed is okay at drawing, and Compulsory Evacuation Device basically sends a monster back to your opponent's hand. I would not recommend that you play Invincible Fortress. It's got weird card ratios and just some of the most questionable card decisions I've seen for structure. Oh, structure deck Joey. Let's see what Joey is cooking. Oh my god. Oh, this deck sucks. Red Eyes Black Dragon is somehow this deck's boss monster, and that is not a good thing. You do not want a 2407 to be your boss monster. We have Swordsman of Landstar, Baby Dragon, Spirit of the Harp, Island Turtle, Flame Manipulator, Masaki the Legendary Swordsman, 7-colored fish, Armored Lizard, Darkfire Soldier #1, Sky Scout, Gearfree the Iron Knight. I'm not going to be going over all these normals because most of them are not good except for Island Turtle and Spirit of the Hearth. They're actually pretty okay. But, like, come on. Karate Man sucks. You can double its attack, but it blows itself up. Mindless Radiant. Okay, so it's basically the Earth version of those other cards we were looking at before. However, it's even weaker. What the heck? Time Wizard might just be the best card in this deck. You get to 50-50 on wiping your opponent's field. Flip and pray. Mahavilo is here for some reason. Even though you have one... You can't even equip that. One equip you can... You have one equip you can use on Mahavilo. What were they thinking? Magician of Faith returns a spell. Big Eye lets you see the top 5 cards of your deck. However, there's just not much in this deck that you're going to be paying off with that. Sand Cannon can search a 1500 or lower monster, which is probably most of this deck. Princess of Tsurugi. Flip, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each spell and trap in your opponent's side of the field. Oh. Okay. The problem is most of the time your opponent's just gonna be setting their spells in main phase too. My magical hat is just a worse Donzalug. Why does Joe even run this card? Oh no. Penguin Soldier is somehow in the running for the best card in this deck. Malevolent Nuzzler. Does this card have that name? The equipped monster gains 700 attack, and you can pay 500 to put it on top of your deck. Okay, cool. So you can break yourself with this. Dark Hole destroys all monsters on the field. The best card in this deck, maybe. Dion Keto. Ass. Fissure. They finally got a good monster destruction. The spell, which is only good against MST and nothing else. Change of heart for some reason in the Joey structure. Block attack. The reliable guardian for some reason. Remove trap, which is only good against continuouses. Monster reborn. I guess you can reborn your opponent's boss monster. How are you going to even get rid of it with this deck? One of polymerization. So let me get this straight. The only reason we're running Baby Dragon, Flame Manipulator, and Masaki is that we're praying and hoping to some higher power that we draw our one of polymerization. This deck is so bad. Mountain is here. Dragon Treasure, even though we have like two dragons. Eternal Rest. Destroy all monsters with equip cards. Might just be one of the worst cards I've ever seen in my life. Shield and Sword card. Scapegoat. Just Desserts is just not good. Trap Hole is actually alright. Castle Walls is here for some reason. Wapuku, Ultimate Offering. 7 Tools of the... This is a Yugi card! Oh my gosh. Fake Trap is here, because of course it is. And Reverse Trap is also here for some reason, even though it doesn't synergize with this deck at all. Joey's deck might be one of the worst structures I've seen, if not the worst one at Reborn right now. I cannot recommend any less that you play this deck. Do not subject yourself to this, please. I need to see a good deck soon. Please, Kaiba, have something. Oh my god. Let's start off just nice and easy. This deck is somehow better than Joey's. It has blue eyes, which is a good 2 tribute monster, I guess. Hitatsumi Giant, Ryukushin. I'm just gonna glaze over all these normals, because just most of them are not good. They might have been good in like Tooth in like 1999, but they're just no. Wicked Worm Beast. One of the worst cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! You want to know what this guy does? It returns itself to the hand at the end of the turn, so you have to play it face down. And it's not worth playing in a skilled rain deck because it has 1400 attack points. Oh my gosh. Metalox, Kimori Dragon for some reason, Judgment, Rogue Doll, whoever this guy is. Arabi, Megami, Mystic Horseman, Terra the Terrible, Dark Titan of Terror, Dark Assailant. Look at this guy. He's really hitting the pose. Master and Expert, Unknown Warrior of Fiend, Mystic Clown, Ogre of the Black Shadow. Why does this art go so hard? For a 1200. Dark Energies, just no. Invigoration. Meh. Dark Hole is good spell and trap distraction. Ukazi. Ryukushin powered. Swordstalker. Lajin, the mystical genie of the lamp, is better than half of Joey's cards. Jesus Christ. Rude Kaiser, Destroyer Golem, Skull Redbird, Dehuman, Pale Beast, Fissure, Trap Hole. One of the all-time greats, two-pronged attack. It basically reads, give up two of your board stain monsters to just destroy one of your opponent's monsters. There are infinite better cards and rewards that do this. Dispel. Again. Monster Reborn. The Inexperienced Spy. Reinforcements. Ancient Telescope. Select the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. Return the card. So you get to see the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. However, you don't get to do much payoff with this, so I don't know why it's in this deck. Just desserts, Flute Summoning Dragon, and 1 Lord of Dragons. So this card's just a brick. Mysterious Puppeteer. This card is not treated as a puppet card. If another monster is normal or flip summoned, gain 500 life points. Wow. I have no words. Trap Master is actually okay, I guess. Sogan gives all warriors 200 extra attack defense. Hane is a good, as a decent bounce back. Reverse Trap is here for, again, for some reason. Remove Trap, Castle Walls, and Ultimate Offering. I cannot recommend any less that you don't play Kaiba's deck. It's also is bad, but it's not as bad as Joey's, I guess. So there's that. Let's see, Kaiba Evolution. So Kaiba didn't improve his deck thinning skills anymore, but I guess he gives us something. We have all of our typical normals, including Hayo Zanryu for some reason. A 2100, 2800, 7. This would be a fine 6. I don't know why it's a 7. Oh god, it just made a 6, 7. Oh my god. Please don't say 6, 7. Oh my gosh. Dueling Dragon in Cave, Luster Dragon number 2. Kaiser Seahorse is here. He's decent. Lord of the Mysterious Puppeteer, Trapmaster. Hane. Witch of the Black Forest is here. And let's see the monster with 15 or less defense from your deck to your hand. This card is very good. However, in Kaiba's deck, it's just nothing. Nothing special. Mystic Tomato at 1 for some reason. It can search out Witch of the Black Forest, but it's at 1. Mad Sword Beast can inflict piercing battle damage, however, doesn't have the attack to even take advantage of that. Spirit Ryu is here for some reason. Even though this deck has 1, 2. Okay, this deck actually has a decent number of dragons. 1 of Paladin White Dragon and White Dragon Ritual. Not 2 of, just 1 of. So we have 2 more bricks in the deck now. Ukazi, Fissure, Dispel, Monster Reborn, the Inexperienced Spy, Flute Summoning Dragon, Change of Heart. We have Soul Exchange. We got Mountain. Tribute to the Doomed is also here. It's actually pretty decent in this deck since we have so many cards. We have Rush Recklessly. We got Megamorph is also here. Nobleman of Crossout. Premature Burial is also here. Fairy Meteor Crush. Shadow Spell is also here. Trap Hole, Justice Earth's Gift of the Mystical Elf is here for some reason. Let me do some quick math. Okay, so Gift of the Mystical Elf gives us 300 life points, right? And the maximum amount of monsters that can be on the field is 10. So 300 times 10. You can gain a whole 3,000 life points off of this card at max monsters on the field. So this card just isn't good. Dust Tornado, Light of Intervention, actually makes your opponent normal summon any monster they would place face down. Fun fact, Jar of Greed, Ryoku Field, when a spell card that targets exactly one monster on the field and no other cards activated, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Konami keep continuing to find ways to not make the structures have solemn judgment. Gosh. Or even just any other negate. Burst Breath. Tribute one dragon type monster. Destroy all face-up monsters on the field whose defense is less than or equal to the attack of the tributed monster than the tributed monster on the field. And D-Tribe. All monsters on your side of the field are treated as dragon type until the end phase of this turn. Was DNA surgery too hard to find? What? I wouldn't recommend that you play Kaiba Evolution either. This deck is also just not great. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Starter deck Pegasus. Relinquished. We have one of Relinquished and one of Black Illusion Ritual. Starting out just great with 2 whole bricks. We're gonna keep track of the bricks in this deck. Next up we have Red Archery Girl. Ryurian, which is somehow worse than Red Eyes Black Dragon in terms of attack. A 2200, 2607. What? Why? And somehow worse, it's the one and only. I see this card too often. People play this structure too often. If you are watching this video and you play this structure, I am begging you to not play it. We have Illusionist, Faceless Mage. Starting off with the stat line, attack a whopping 1200 attack on this card. Already starting off just amazing. This card has less attack than Beaver Warrior. Beaver Warrior. And its attack and its defense is 2200. Barely more than Battle Footballer, mind you. Oh my gosh, this deck is just. This deck is so. Please do not play this. I've seen this card too many times. Rogue Doll. Uraby, Giant Silverstone, Aquamador, Toon Alligator is here for some reason. Hane Hane. Sonic Bird, I guess, searches out our rituals. Jigen Bakudan. Alright, let's read what this card does. After this card is flipped, tribute it during your standby phase to destroy all monsters you control, and inflict damage equal to half of the total attack of the destroyed cards, including this monster, to your opponent. So you get to blow up your own field and deal half the damage of all your monsters to your opponent. This card sucks. It's not good. Mask of Darkness adds trap to our hand, but looking at all of our traps, there's just nothing good. Into the Black Forest is a good searcher. Man Earbug's actually a good pop. Muka Muka doesn't belong in this deck at all. Like, it's a mediocre boss monster already, but there's just no draw power in this deck. besides like graceful charity, and even that is just questionable. Dream Clown is here. It's not good. Armed Ninja destroys a spell, a spell. It's also just not great. Hero's Shadow Scout. Ugh, gosh. I've also seen this card far too much. First of all, flip. Your opponent draws 3 cards. Holy, so you let your opponent go +3. Both players look at the cards. If there are any spell cards among them, discard those spell cards to the graveyard. So you're letting your opponent go +3 for the niche advantage of getting to hand rip them if any of the 3 are spells. If all 3 are spells, this card is good. But if they're not, you're giving your opponent plus whatever. Not good. You have Blue Eyes Toon Dragon and Toon Summon Skull, Manga Reran, and Toon Mermaid. All these cards let you attack directly. However, they're toons. They require Toon World, which there's only 1 of in this deck. Is this a Pegasus structure deck? Like, Pegasus' whole thing is toons, and he only has 1 of this card? Black Pendant, Dark Hole, Dion Ghetto, Fissure, Dispel, Change of Heart, Stop Defense for some reason. Mystical Space Typhoon, Rush Recklessly, Remove Trap, Monster Reborn. Soul Release, for some reason. Target up to 5 cards in the graveyard and banish them. I guess you can banish your opponent's Treeborn Frog. Yami, Black Illusion Ritual. Ring of Magnetism. You get to nerf your own monster, but they're forced to attack it if they attack. Okay, Graceful Charity, amazing draw spell. You're just not going to be drawing much with it. Trap Hole, Reinforcements, Castle Walls, Wabuku, 7 Tools of the Bandit, Ultimate Offering, Robin Goblin, Magic Chamber, Enchanted Javelin, and Griffin Wing. By far one of the worst traps in Yu-Gi-Oh! You do destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Okay. I mean, it's a very specific trap card. Let's just see how Feather Duster is doing. Oh, that's right. Harpy's Feather Duster is banned. So you're just doing nothing with this card. It's a complete and utter dud. It's great to know. Just a great deck, everybody. I cannot stress this enough. Please stop playing this deck. If you are out there are playing this deck, I'm going to show you a deck later in this video that you need to play. Please stop playing this deck. I'm begging you. Okay. Let's move on to Spellcaster's Judgment. Dark Eradicator Warlock. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by attributing 1 Dark Magician. And cannot be special summoned by other ways. Each time a normal spell card is activated, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent immediately after it resolves. Already, this card is just not good. There is a total of 1 Dark Magician in this deck. And there's only 2 cards that really get it out, so it's just overall not great. Mystical Beast Cerberus. Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card. When that spell resolves, gain 5 air attack for each spell counter on it. At the end of the battle phase, this card battled, remove all spell counters on it. It's just meh. Dark Magician and Mr. Gemini Elf. Dark Magician is not a good 7. It's a 2500. There are just better 2 tributes out there, and even then 2 tributes are not that good. Magician of Faith. Skilled Dark Magician lets you special summon a Dark Magician after applying 3 spells through spell counters. Apprentice Magician lets you search out a spell caster from the deck that's level 2 or lower. It's probably gonna be our Magician of Faith. Chaos Command Magician. Negate the effect of a monster card that targets this one card. Not that great. It's an okay 6. Breaker the Magical Warrior. It's good to see you, my buddy. It's good to finally see a good card. After what I've seen with Pegasus, man. Royal Magical Library lets you draw a card, however there's no real way to take advantage of it. This card lets you return a card back to the hand. Chaos Sork is here for some reason and lets you banish a monster on the field. Very good reason it got banned. White Magician Pekaru. So, fun fact if you don't know, in the anime, this child-looking card is Bastion's card crush. Now, I'm not gonna say anything about this because I don't know if she's actually a child or not. But she damn near looks like one. What is Bastion up to? Blast Magician. Each time a spell card is activated, place one spell counter on this card. When that spell card resolves, you can remove any number of spell counters from this card and target one face-up monster on the field with attack less than or equal to the number of counters you remove times 700 to destroy that target. Very specific. Requires a unreasonable amount of counters to really be used. Ebon Current Magician burns your opponent for 300 each for each monster they control during your standby. Rapid Fire Magician, inflict 400 damage to your opponent each time you activate a normal spell card. Decent burn. Magical Blast, inflict 200 damage for each to your opponent for each spellcaster you control during your draw phase. If this card is in your graveyard before you draw, you can give up your normal draw this turn if you do add this card to your hand. So let's just do some more math really quick. I know, we all love math. Okay. So 200 times 5 is 1600. So at max, this card is doing 1600 damage a turn. Was Wave Motion Cannon not available? Because that card at least charges. Mystical Space Typhoon, Nobleman Crossout, Premature Varial, Swords of Revealing Light, Mage Power, Great Equip, Heavy Storm, Diffusion Wave Motion. This card is not treated as a fusion card. If your opponent controls a monster, pay 1000 life points to target one level 7 or higher spellcaster monster you control. This turn, it must attack all monsters your opponent controls, once each. Also, other monsters you control cannot attack. The effects of monsters destroyed by these attacks cannot activate and are negated. Requires you to control a level 7, requires you to pay 1000 life points, but after all that, you get a decent card, I guess. Reload. Dark Magic attack requires you to control a Dark Magician, which there's only one of, so it's not good. Spell Absorption. Lightning Vortex. Magical Dimension allows you to target one monster. So basically, you can pop one of your opponent's monsters and then special summon the spellcaster. Actually, great. Mystic Box is like creature swap. It's like creature swap, but you get to choose. Yeah. Nightmare Steel Cage. Call the Haunted. Spell Shield type B's here for some reason. Pitch Black Power Stone. Activate this card by placing 3 spell counters on it. Once per turn during your turn, you can target one other face-up card on the field that you can place a spell counter on. Remove 1 spell counter from this card, and if you do, place 1 spell counter on that target. When the last spell counter is removed from this card, to destroy it. So, if I'm understanding this correctly, you can put a spell counter on Breaker the Magical Warrior or one of your magicians. This card is pretty decent. Divine Wrath. When a monster effect is activated, discard 1 card, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that monster. It's pretty rare for a monster effect to be activated this early in Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially on the field. The only one I can really think of is like Breaker the Magical Warrior. But I'm sure there are others. My Go Magic Cylinder. This card is so underrated. I wouldn't really recommend that you play this deck. It just has too many bricks. We're getting to the good decks soon, I hope. Starter deck 2006. What the hell is this? What? Gazelle, the king of mythical beasts. Warrior Diagrapher, Luster Dragon, number 2. Dark Blade, Luster Dragon, Warrior Zera, Elemental Hero, who's Avion, Burstanitrix, Clayman, and Sparkman with no fusion cards, mind you. Scale Angel, Magician of Fate, Karibo, Princess of Sarugi, Spear Dragon for some reason, which is a card that changes itself to defense position, so you can deal like a couple hundred damage of burn and then you just get your monster blown up. Spirit Caller is also here. The Trojan Horse, which only works with Blade Edge. Mirage Dragon. Easy. Black Pendant, Gaia Power for some reason. Pre-mat, Red Medicine in the big 2006. Fissure, Tribute to the Doomed. Heavy Storm, the Warrior Returning Alive. Dark Factory of Mass Production. Monster Reincarnation, Brain Control. Reinforcements and Castle Walls. Ready for intercepting. Target one warrior, spellcaster, monster on the field. Change the target to face down defense position. So if your opponent doesn't play warrior or spellcaster, this card just does nothing. Dust Tornado, Jar of Greed, Sakuretsu Armor, Compulsory, Cemetery Bomb, and Magic Cylinder. Overall, I would say that this deck is not good. It's just, no. Why did they make Starter Deck 2006 so ass? Like, it has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 normal monsters in 2006. Most of them don't even use the fusion card that they're paired with. What? This start is probably just as bad as Joey's, to be honest. Like, if not worse or slightly better. Please, we need a good starter soon. Only 2 more decks to Zombie Madness, thank God. Starter deck here. Okay, you can do it, Stixie. Just 2 more. Mystical Elf, Feral, and Winged Dragon, and Guardian of the Fortress. Summon Skull, the legendary Beaver Warrior, who can stand toe-to-toe with Illusionist Faceless Mage, by the way. Dark Magician, Gaia the Fierce Knight. A 2300, 2100 level 7. Just great. Curse of Dragon, Celtic Guardian, Mammoth Graveyard, Great White, Silver Fang, Giant Soldier Stone, Dragon Zombie, Dome of the Angel of Silence, Ansatu, the Witty Phantom, Claw Reacher, who looks like he's really reaching, Mystic Clown, Sword of Dark Destruction, Book of Secret Arts, Dark Hole, Dion Kettle, Ancient Elf, Mystical Ghost, Fissure, Trap Hole, 2-pronged Attack, Monster Reborn, Reinforcements, Change of Heart, The Stern Mystic, which just does nothing on flip. It reveals all face downs and then just returns them. Wall of Illusion might somehow be the best card in this deck. What the heck? Neo the Magic Swordsman, Baron the Fiend of Sword, Sorcerer of the Doomed, Man-Eating Treasure Chest, Wabuku, Last Will, Soul Exchange, Card Destruction, Trapmaster, Dragon Capture Jar. It's rare enough to see dragons. Why would you be playing this? If your opponent's on dragons, you just body them. But if they aren't, you're just screwed. Yami, Maneater Bug, Reverse Trap, Remove Trap, Castle Wall's Ultimate Offering. This version of Yuki's deck is absolutely not good. Please, for the love of God, do not play this deck. There are only like 2 decks so far I could even say that you could play reasonably. Yugi Evolution is slightly better. Has all of our standard normals. Wall Illusion, Maneater Bug, Sandgam, Grebo, 1 of Giant Rat, 1 of Sonic Bird, Zombra of the Dark, Royal Magical Library, 1 of Blackluster Soldier and Ritual. 2 more cards to break on. Just what this deck needed. 2 more bricks. Finisher, Monster Reborn, Change of Heart, Last Will, Card Destruction, Remove Trap, The Reliable Guardian, Axe of Despair, Malevolent Hustler, the MST, Mystic Plasma Zone, Swords of Revealing Light, and Pot of Greed. Only the traps left. Trap Hole, Wabuku, 7 Tools of the Bandit, Spellbinding Circle. One of the worst traps I've ever seen. This card is so over. The Eye of Truth. I don't know how many people think this trap is good, but you're wrong. Your opponent must keep their hand revealed. Once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, if they have a spell in their hand, they gain 1,000 life points. So you're essentially paying your opponent 1,000 life points because spells are your opponent's main playmakers, so they're going to have spells. There's Backup Soldier, which is okay, I guess. Kind of requires 5 monsters, but it's kind of nothing. Shift. When your opponent targets exactly 1 monster you control, and no other cards are in attack, or with a spell or trap effect, target another monster you control that would be an appropriate target. That attack, spell, or trap now targets the new target. Hyper-specific, weird card. Don't play this. Disappear. Remove from play 1 card from your opponent's graveyard. Wow. Great card. Just great card. And Raigeki Break. This is also just not a good deck. I can't recommend that you play it. So far, every deck has just been okay, or it's just been trash. This next deck, it outpaces all of them. Get a look at Zombie Madness. Konami kinda cooked with this one. We start off not great with Vampire Genesis. This is basically just an upgraded version of Vampire Lord, except you don't get the mill, and you don't get the protection, so it's just a 3,000 beater that can special zombie. Master Kyonchi, Vampire Lord, which is very good for zombie because you can just mill one of your opponent's spells, their main playmakers. Dark Dust Spirit can just destroy all monsters your opponent controls and then hit them for 2,200, then return to your hand. Pyramid Turtle at 3, thank God. This can get out Vampire Lord or Ryukoki, 2 great boss monsters for the deck, or literally almost any other zombie. It's great, it's fantastic. Thank you, Konami. Spirit Reaper is a good wall. Despair from the Dark is a very mid boss. Your opponent has to make the mistake of discarding it with, like, Spirit Reaper, Dawn's Illusory for it to pay off. Soul Absorbing Bone Tower at 1 for some reason. What? You could at least run it at 2. 3 would be even better. Like, what? Why? Vampire Lady's just Vampire Lord with protection. Double cost tons for our Despair from the Dark. Regenerating Mummy's pretty good. Snatch Steal, Yoinks, Mystical Space Typhoon, Giant Grenade, Implement Cross Out, Pot of Greed. Card of Safe Return. When a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you can draw a card. This card's pretty good. We have a total of two cards that return from the grave. That return a monster from the graveyard. And I guess we have Vampire Lord as well, so you're not going to really be paying us off too much. Heavy Storm, Creature Swap is amazing with Pyramid Turtle. Only 2 of Book of Life. We could have shaved 1 called Mummy for this Konami, but I'll let it slide. Only because this starts pretty good. Call the Mummy, Reload. Dust Tornado is great for Spell and Trap Destruction, Torrential Tribute. They finally learned how to put indicate in it. It's not a Spell Shield. Reckless Grade and 3 of Compulsory Evacuation Device. This starter deck is by far the best one. You can pretty easily get out your zombie bosses, and overall, it's a pretty good deck. This deck will definitely allow you to grind up for your better deck that you're going to be getting, and it only costs you about 3,000 shards. So yeah, that will definitely help you. So, with that, that is all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Reborn starters. It took me a long time to explain them all, but I hope you all enjoyed this one. And I am definitely not going to have a tough time editing it. Nope, not at all. But, you guys can subscribe if you want, and I hope to catch you on the next one. I hope you guys really like this series and stuff, so, yeah. Catch you on my next overview.